Welcome to the Martina Tierney Podcast. Before I get started, I would like you to do me a little favour. If you like this, would you please rate it, give it a nice rating, share it with your friends and subscribe, because that really does help, and it means that more people will get an insight into the wisdom and the guests that we have here on the Martina Tierney Podcast.
It doesn't matter what their needs are, there is a solution.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's my superpower. I can look at a space and think, oh gosh, I think we could do whatever it is. And more often than not, it'll take a couple of tweaks, but we make it work. So you're right, we hold on to a lot of our items because we feel guilty in letting it go. Now, we may not like it, but we hold on to it. Maybe somebody bought us it, or even though we don't want it, we feel we have to keep it.
And when we sat down and have a chat and you told me about your joyful spaces, and I thought, I really need you. And I have to say that meeting you has really changed my life so much. Welcome to the Martina Tierney Podcast. I am delighted to introduce you today, Sharon McNulty. You're very welcome, Sharon.
Oh, thank you so much, Martina, for having me.
So Sharon is from the founder of a company called Joyful Spaces, and we're going to have a really great conversation about that. But first, I want to introduce, because Sharon is a healthcare professional in her early career. She was a midwife and a health visitor. And I just want to talk to you, Sharon, about how that early career and how you moved from that into Joyful Spaces. And I'm sure people listening here will wonder, what is Joyful Spaces? So tell us a little bit about yourself, Sharon.
Oh, so yeah, for 31 years, I was a midwife and health visitor. So I was used to visiting people in their own homes, to looking after the babies, the mums postnatally. And very quickly I realised whenever I was going out into homes, things may not have been going so well. These babies were brought home from hospital, and of course maybe all the suitcases and the bags and the nappies and medicines, especially babies from the neonatal unit. And you'd go in maybe 6 weeks later and everything was still sitting there. And that was because families were so busy, they were in such overwhelm, they were trying to look after this baby, trying to sort out family life, and it was the least of their worries to have to organise it. And I knew myself as a mummy. I was a single mum of 3 children, and I was struggling at times, trying to spin plates, trying to keep on top of everything, and very, very hard to keep everything afloat. So I suppose personally, if I was to bring you back about 15 years, I had a full-time job, I was rearing teenagers, and I had a large house, and I filled my home. I absolutely filled it with stuff.
With stuff.
Just in case.
Clothes and
I might
everything.
need it someday. And I didn't want to let it go because I thought, well, I've spent this money, so why, I'll hold on to it. And I had the space. Now, on the surface, everything looked lovely. It looked neat and tidy. But had you looked into my cupboards, you'd have thought, oh, sweet moly. And again, because I had the space, I was able to manage it okay. But had somebody asked me for something, I'd have had to search for it. I'd have known the cupboard was in. I'd have known the direction it was in, but I've had to search for it. So that was fine. I sort of knew there was a different way of working, of living, but I didn't know I was doing the same thing over and over again. And I mean, it's like everybody else that I meet now. They're continually trying to keep on top of the house, tidy the house, and everybody else makes it look easy. But it wasn't until I came upon a book called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and that was by Marie Kondo. And I read it and it resonated with me straight away. And I thought, I need a system. That's just what I need. Right. Now, I was highly organised, but I just had too much stuff.
Yeah. And I think it's useful just to say here at this point that I met you through your daughter. So your daughter is Grania, and Grania works here at Tierco Healthcare, especially in Spur and Metal and at Seating Matters. And she works as part of our Lean Made Simple team. And she is the most organised person ever. So she's obviously your daughter. And that's how I came across you. And when we sat down and have a chat and you told me about your joyful spaces, and I thought, I really need you. And I have to say that meeting you has really changed my life so much. So just for people, they're sitting here and they're listening to this and thinking, what is Joyful Spaces? Tell us, we just get us into that right now. What is Joyful Spaces?
So I was trained by Marie Kondo, the Japanese tidying expert. And we follow a specific, it's like lean in businesses. That's what I do in homes. It really is
Yeah.
lean. But we call it something different. So we have a system that whenever I go into somebody's home to organise it, we are meticulous. We do it in a specific way so that it's not done and has to keep being done, so that it's done once and done properly. So it's really lean in businesses. So I set up Joyful Spaces because once I did my own home and organised it using that system, Martina, the difference was day and night. It really was. So
Well,
much.
I can understand that because, as you know, you have come to me a few times, and I have to say that when I step out of bed in the morning and step onto my carpet and look around my room, I do feel joy. I absolutely do. And it sounds weird, but to think that the decluttering is not just about tidying up. Tell us a wee bit more about what does the decluttering mean, deeper than just tidying up your house.
Yeah, so it's never about the stuff. That's not what it's about. It's really what we do is we make somebody's day run smoothly. So that, as you say, you feel joy. And I remember working with you, Martina, and we were actually standing clapping whenever we'd get something done that we loved. That's what you get.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
And whenever you get out of bed in the morning, you should feel that, okay, I'm ready for the day. So, yeah, we follow a system and we actually, and it's different for everybody. So I first of all get to know what your day is like, what your home would run like, and then we get a system that works for you, and that's why it works beautifully. It really is.
So when I've talked to everybody about this, it's my main topic of conversation now, and I've one of the comments I got a lot was, "Oh, so she just came and threw your stuff out?" And I says, "No, she didn't throw my stuff out." And did she want you to get rid of this? I said, "No." She was very specific about, what did I feel when I look at that? How did that thing make me feel? That piece of clothing or those shoes or whatever, and it's about sparking joy. So talk to me about, because I think this is important, about the guilt you feel around, you hold on to stuff because of guilt.
Oh, completely. In fact, you hold on to stuff for many reasons. Everything is an emotion attached to it, a memory. So you're right, we hold on to a lot of our items because we feel guilty in letting it go. Now, we may not like it, but we hold on to it. Maybe somebody bought us it, or even though we don't want it, we feel we have to keep it. But the way we do it now is we ask ourselves, do you absolutely love it? Does it add to your life? Would you regret not having it? Or if there was something that you weren't sure about, would you spend the time, the money and the energy in getting it repaired if something happened to it? And that's quite a good one.
That is a good one, because you asked me about that. There was something, I can't remember what it was, and I had fixed it a few times, and you says, well, hold on to that because you spent money, time and effort to make it, to keep it.
That's right.
So yes, that's important. But I also remember, because I did have a lot of stuff, like I had clothes that were size 8 and a size 10, and I kept looking at them thinking someday I'll get into them. So number one, they were expensive. Number two, they were small. So I had all this guilt around, I can't throw out those expensive clothes. And then I would look at them and think, oh, I wish I was, a size 10 or 12. And since I got rid of all that stuff, it's really freed up. So how, that whole guilt around and that whole the feeling that you have, it's so important.
It's cathartic, actually, isn't it? Because you're intentional about what you're keeping. So you're not saying, oh, I'm letting all this go. You do item by item by item, and then you're deciding why you want to keep something. And I know that sounds long and drawn out, but it really is important to do it this way. I liken it to weeding your garden. If you only ever take the tops of the weeds, it'll grow back quite quickly. But if you take the weeds from the root out, which is what we do, it'll last a lot longer. Now, you will want to continually improve it, and a bit like lean, you do want to do that. But it'll last so much longer. Yeah.
So what sort of feedback have you had from other people that you've worked with, customers or clients that you've worked with? What sort of feedback have you had from them?
Oh, my goodness me. So I have a variety of different clients and clients at different stage in their lives. I have some clients who come to me because they feel overwhelmed. They're continuously trying to keep on top of things. And the big thing for them is it's lowered their anxiety, lowered their depression, actually. I had a lovely lady during COVID. We were able to meet each other just for a couple of hours. And she sent me a lovely message a couple of weeks later, and she says, Sharon, that last day we were together was the last bad head day I had. Now, bearing in mind, she was seeing a psychiatrist. She had a community psychiatric nurse, and she was really struggling. To think that by doing a couple of hours of that made a difference for a couple of weeks is phenomenal. Yeah. So it really does reduce all that. Yeah. And then I have other clients who come to me because they want maybe the larder, or they want the hotel feel, or want a walk-in wardrobe. And for them, it's just their day feeling opulent and luxurious and abundant. And it's very easy to see that on the day. And then I have other clients who I go to because maybe they have medical needs. And I suppose that's very much aligned with OT. I had one young fella, and he would have been one of the first clients I had. He was in a wheelchair, and his mum used to come down. He was a man in his 40s, and his mum was in her 80s, and she used to come down every evening to leave out his clothes for the next morning. Now, he was an accessible house, so everything should have run smoothly. But it was something simple, Martina, as in clearing the path for the wheelchair to go into the wardrobe so that he could pick his own clothes. And then also, whenever he would have the clothes stacked one on top of the other, as you normally would, he couldn't lift up. He didn't have the upper body strength to lift up to pull out what he needed. So we just folded them differently, the way I would have done for you in the drawer. So it's making life easier. And then we have quite a few clients actually who maybe have additional medical needs, tube feeding, equipment, wheelchairs and that. So whenever I go to them, I'm thinking, okay, how can we make this work? So, and again, I would be looking at the space first of all.
You're very OT oriented here.
I really do. You see, that just floats my boat because I think it doesn't matter what their needs are, there is a solution. Yeah. And I suppose that's my superpower. I can look at a space and think, oh gosh, I think we could do whatever it is. And more often than not, it'll take a couple of tweaks, but we make it work. So even within the wheelchairs, I even look to see which wheelchair or which piece of equipment they need all the time. And that comes first and foremost. And then the rest can go back a wee bit. We get systems in for, we're with a family at the minute, we're just finishing off. And there's carers in, there's, my goodness me, the supplies coming in, different equipment, tube feeds and that. So we need to, and what actually we did for that family was we set up exactly what they would need for 7 days, down to the finest bit, and we took a photograph of it. We itemised what they needed in that cupboard, and every Sunday it's the carer's responsibility to update that to bring in enough for the next 7 days. My goodness. And that has been a game changer for them.
Absolutely.
Because whenever I went to that family initially, there was a lot, life was just busy and the carers were in for a couple of hours and they never had the time to do this. So what we actually did was we set up the medication. We did a medication cupboard. We did a feeding cupboard. We did a carer's cupboard. And then I took a photograph of it and we put it up on the actual cupboard door. And then we went another step further. And this actually came about from doing the tour at Seton Matters. I saw Gambadox and was blown away with it, but didn't think anything of it. So whenever we had went into this client's home, I realised very quickly, my goodness, there's a need for Gambadox in this setting.
Just explain, because there's people listening would not know what Gambadox is. Explain it a little bit, what Gambadox is.
Okay, so Gambadox, as I say, I saw first of all in Seton Matters, and it's a system that makes it easy to follow a structure. So, for example, in this family setting, there was carers coming in, and every time that they had a new carer join, they had to then start and talk through how you would tube feed, how you would set up medications, how you would pack a bag before this client would go out to school. And so it was quite repetitive. And it really meant that it was dependent on the carer. So Gemba in this situation meant that everybody is doing the exact same thing.
That's amazing that you were able to come here to Seaton Matters to a manufacturing facility, really, and where we're making a product. You were able to take that one thing, that Gemba and introduce it to like a family, a carers, and set a whole system in place. And for us here, Gemba reduces the defects. That's what it's about. It's reducing defects. It's about thinking about the next person that's coming behind you. Do they know how to do the job that I'm doing if I'm not here a day? So it works perfect for carers.
In fact, as soon as this client's mum had explained to me, I asked what normally happens whenever they're bathing, and the mum had said it depends who's with her, and I thought it shouldn't.
It shouldn't depend.
This should be exactly the same. So that this young girl, as soon as she wakes up in the morning, her day is going to run exactly the same. And it means too, and the beauty of this is, it means there's a video of how you set up the tube feed, how you actually feed, how you run it through the process. And it means whenever this girl's at school or college, all you need to do is have the QR code for Gemba and then it doesn't matter who it is.
So if she is at university, if she's in a hospital situation, all she has to do is scan the QR code and that tells you exactly how this process should. Why is all the facilities not using this, like ICU and different places, and people's homes with carers coming in, so many carers. That's a big thing we find with our product, our chairs, our equipment we put in. It's not always used right. You know, we set it up really well. We set it up the way the patient needs it. And then we come back next week and the back of the chair is tilted. It's not set up right. And we do photographs and things. We try to. But I don't think we ever thought about doing a Gemba for it or a QR code. So there you go. You've really helped us to improve our services. And that's what lean and that's what joyful spaces is. It's about continuous improvement.
Oh. It is. It's about getting it right and then tweaking it as you go. That's exactly what it is. And for this family, it wasn't just a nice to have. This was such a huge difference. And in fact, I was speaking to the mum a couple of weeks ago and she said the difference that we have made in her home is just, she can't even put into words.
No,
it's given them a life back.
So your joy, your joy just comes out, oozes out from you. Like every time I see you, you know, you're just smiling. But do you think your healthcare background, being a midwife and all that caring, that really has helped you with, or really has been a big factor for Joyful Spaces?
Huge, absolutely huge. To go into somebody's home is quite intimate, and it's very difficult then for somebody to let you in thinking, will they be talking about me? Will they be telling people my business? But I think having a background in the NHS, confidentiality is at its core. It's just a thing. And I think that was huge. And also knowing what life's like whenever we're not there. And I think 30 years has really given me a good opportunity to see that.
See behind the scenes.
See behind. I often say I know what life behind doors is like, and just, you know, and again, no judgment. I was there myself before I organised my home, so I understand it. So I think the whole blend of that is just fabulous.
No judgment is a big thing. I remember when you came to me and I said to my daughter, she's not getting into that room.
How long did it take me?
So I had the door closed, and then you were here, and then you says, and so where do you keep your shoes and your bags? And I thought, I wasn't going to let you in there. You soon find your way around.
And you know, that's the bit I love, the bit, because once I know the full story, really what life
I could see that after. There was no point in keeping a door closed, because if you're going to get flow, we talk about flow as well as part of lean. Anybody who doesn't know about lean really need to read the lean book as well. You need to write a book.
Well, I am in the process of it. I've co-authored 6 now.
Right.
And that's just people have come to me and asked me, would you be a part of this? Because what I do is really part of everything, your mental health, your physical health, your business. So I've co-authored that amount, and I'm in the middle of doing my own now.
You definitely need to do a book. Because for me, going through that process, it was about letting go of a lot of stuff that that's so important. So for my mental health, that was so important. I was holding on to stuff. I was holding on. Then after you left, you did the clothes and the handbags and the shoes and all that. But then I went into the office, my wee office, and I got old letters and old photographs and things that when I looked at them, they definitely were not bringing me joy. They were bringing back memories that I really needed to let go of. And I just sat there with a shredder and I shredded. And it was just the best feeling ever. That whole feeling of letting go. And it helped me so much, I just cannot explain.
I'd love to know, how did you actually feel whenever we'd finished?
Well, see, during the process, Sharon, as you know, I was extremely tired. Every evening when you would leave, I was completely beat. And I said, we're going to have to stop because I can't go any further. And you said that was quite normal.
Oh, it is. It is, because if you think you're making decisions, normally you just close the door on something and you think, I'll sort that out another day. But you're making continual decisions throughout that session. So emotionally you're exhausted, but physically exhausted too. So that's very normal, very natural.
So yes, I was physically tired, but I was mentally tired. And I think that's good for people to know, because even for a week or two after it, I wondered why I was so tired. Yeah. But as you say, you were going through a lot of emotions, looking at stuff and thinking about how you felt about it and getting rid of it and letting go. And that was all. So yes, I was exhausted and really tired after you left. In a nice way, not in a stressed way, but in a nice way. I was very tired.
That's good to know, Martina, because it's so normal.
And you mentioned a word there, overwhelmment. Yeah. And that's something that people have a lot of now, because people are so busy. And life is so busy compared to 30 years ago or 40 years ago. Children have so many different activities. Most parents are working full time. And that whole thing about overwhelming can cause problems with your mental health.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And as you say, life nowadays is so different, isn't it? There's more expected of us. And I suppose social media has given us a wee bit of a glimpse into different people's lives, but it's not a true reflection. So there's a lot of clients that would say, I'd be devastated getting you into the house because everybody else can do it, but I can't. However, I just think whenever you're overwhelmed, the fact that you're reaching out is fabulous. Yeah. The fact that you're saying, okay, I need help, because you can't do it all on your own. No, you just can't.
No, it is good to have that person to give you that wee push and to ask you the questions like, how does it feel when you look at this? Yeah. The other thing is that I said earlier, some people said, does she just throw everything out? And you didn't. If I have things in the house that I'll never fit into again, but they were, what I wore on my wedding day, or, the first time I met James or something, and they bring me joy, even though I'll never fit into them, I'll never wear them again, but just looking at them sometimes. And there's that wee bit of history, that wee bit of something that's nice to hold on to, rather than looking at something and feeling guilty about it and thinking, that brings back bad memories, but I can't get rid of it because I spent a lot of money on it, or for whatever reason you hold on to it. So you don't have to throw everything out.
No, and I would say you don't even have to say I've too many trousers or too many jackets. If you're going through the criteria and that's what you're working through, and you decide they all bring you joy, or as you say, they're sentimental, keep them. But keep them intentionally. And you really want to surround yourself, thinking of vibrations, you want to surround yourself with things that you get excited about, things that add to your day and things you love.
That's right. So what's the future for you? What are your big plans? Because knowing you, Sharon, you're not just content to be sitting here talking to me. There's big plans for the future. Tell us a little bit about what the future looks like for you.
Oh, Martina, even if somebody had asked me even 10 years ago, where would you have seen yourself? I couldn't have told them. No. But every day is evolving. I'm making the most of it. I'm starting my second business now, and it's called Sharon Spaces.
Sharon Spaces.
Sharon Spaces. And it's going to be launching in the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be completely online, and I want to get rid of the shame and the guilt associated with having too much stuff and people not being able to keep on top of their homes. So we're going to do programs through that, and oh my goodness, it's going to be fabulous. And it means I have a global reach again. Now I do go across to New York. I have clients at the minute via Zoom. And all over the world, actually. But this is different. This is going to be, I'm going to be able to scale it a lot more and help a lot more clients.
That's excellent.
Yeah, I know.
That's really good.
And I do a lot of corporate relocations for a lot of Google, Aptiv, PepsiCo. So I still have I have a team of ladies, and they'll continue to do that while I focus on Sharon Spaces. So it's great.
Sharon, what strikes me so much in this conversation, and I've been chatting to you a lot, but even in this conversation, what strikes me so much is how what you do and what occupational therapists do is so similar. And I just can't, because what we do is, as OTs, we go in and we analyse activity. We look at how someone does a thing, and then we try to make it easier for them or show them a way that they can do it independently that is stress-free and that is safe. And it just amazes me that there's such a link between what you do, which I never thought of before, and what occupational therapists do. So do you have one story that springs to mind about like someone with health issues that might have benefited from your service?
Oh, yeah. Now, I've worked with so many young people, Martina. One that comes to mind is a young fella in Scotland. And he reached out to me maybe about 4 years ago. And he's in a psychiatric hospital and he's 27 now, and he has been since he was 16. And so all he had was the one room. And he found, his words to me were, every Monday the staff would come in and they would help him tidy his room. But he was mortified. He felt great shame in it because he thought, I can't even do that. So he reached out to me and he said, Sharon, could you help me? And again, I said, yeah, absolutely. So we used to meet a couple of times a week, and we would only do an hour at a time.
This is online.
Online. And we did an hour at a time. And the difference it made to him, so at the very start, so he just didn't have the life skills of even hanging things up. So I remember actually, and we used to laugh about it, I remember whenever I was showing him how to hang things up in the wardrobe, even showing him how to put the stuff onto the clothes onto the hangers. It's very difficult to do over Zoom. So I used to have to bring the laptop into the bedroom and show him in my own hanger, even how to hang it up. So we actually had to peel it right back, and he was in, his mental health wouldn't have been great. So he would have taken a break every now and then come back again. But the difference we made to him was phenomenal. He said he now didn't need them to come in. He didn't feel embarrassed. So whenever they come in the Monday, they would have said, look, this is fabulous. So it gave him a pride. It also gave him life skills. Now he's hoping that he will move out into
supported
accommodation.
Yeah.
And when he does, they're life skills that he didn't have the opportunity to do. But he now knows, and he will say himself, he works his way methodically. I do everything methodically. And that's what he will now do.
He needs that. He needs
that structure. And again, he felt it gave him confidence. He knew then that he was learning new skills, so he was able to then start and make his way in the world.
My goodness. It is so what occupational therapists should be doing in mental health if they're not, but I'm sure there are ones out there. And anybody listening, I'm sure they'll be amazed at the connection. So just before we finish, if you just want to tell us a wee bit about how did you, I know it's Marie Kondo, how did you access the training? Where did you go to do the training and all that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I just loved my training. So I put it into action. I read the book, I put it into action in my own home, and the difference was phenomenal, as I said. So straight away, I started helping family and friends, and I was evangelical about it. I just was telling everybody. And then I realised, my goodness me, she's coming to do training with Marie Kondo. So I went to London to train with her, and we had, it was maybe an 8-step plan to actually get trained. And then I did so well in it that I then became one of Europe's leading KonMari consultants. That's what you're called, KonMari consultant. And so I went to her master level, and that's actually the equivalent of having a black belt in tidying and organising.
Goodness.
So I didn't think I'd have a black belt in anything.
It's such a really good job and such a happy place to be.
I do. I actually love going to work, and I loved what I did beforehand, but this is different. I help people in a different way. So I just am so blessed. I really am.
Well, I have to say you made a difference to me, and I would highly recommend you. This podcast is not about selling stuff, but I cannot sit here and say that it didn't make a huge difference to me. It absolutely did. And how long is it since you were with me? Like a few months then, since we started.
Yeah.
And like everything's just sitting exactly, it's the same, because it just makes life so much easier. And when you are busy and you're out doing things, it's lovely to come into a nice, well-organised home. It just relaxes, takes the stress out and the overwhelmment. And I think for mental health, it is absolutely fabulous. So well done, Sharon. And good luck with the future, and we look forward to seeing what happens in Sharon's spaces.
Oh, Martina, thank you so much for having me. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you.